The Washington Commanders just traded for Deebo Samuel from the 49ers for a 5th-round pick. And the Commanders are going to take on Deebo's, $21.7 million he has left on his contract. This is the contract year for Deebo Samuel, and he fits the scheme perfectly for the Commanders. People want to say Deebo Samuel's washed, the production's going down, but you look at, an athletic dual threat quarterback now with Jaden Daniels that's going to command a lot of attention. One of the best deep threats in Scary Terry, consistent 1,000-yard receiver. How the Commanders play, they throw dink and dunks more than anybody in the NFL. And Deebo Samuel, he led the NFL in receptions with 10 air yards or less. And he had the most receiving yards off passes with 10 air yards. He specializes in the screen game, in the RPO game, in those kind of jet sweeps. He's going to do that for the Commanders now, and he's 29 years old, but I think he still has some left in the tank. And just being that other threat besides Scary Terry, just having a security blanket for Jaden Daniels. Deebo is still a top 5 yak guy in the NFL. At one point in time, he was the best yak guy. He's going to make those explosive plays happen, and that's something the Commanders struggled with. They just had Scary Terry. They really didn't have those guys that were going to catch the ball and go for 6. Deebo Samuel gives you that. And like I said, he's going to have that motivation, playing for a new contract. In an interview, he said some great things about Jaden Daniels. This is a guy he would want to play with, and now he's getting that opportunity. Cliff Kingsbury, creative offensive mind, what he did with the Commanders this year, their offense was fantastic. Adding more weapons to that only makes this offense even more dangerous. I think Deebo will be really effective, and I think he'll have his best season he's had probably since, 2021, he had 1,000 yards, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns. Receiving and 365 yards rushing. I think he'll be a factor. They'll be giving him some handoffs. They'll get him some jet sweeps. And Daniels, just having that guy that's just such an effective runner too at the quarterback position. One of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL. Just how he was able to be effective in his rookie season, take his team to the NFC Championship game. He has all the makings of a great quarterback, and I think getting him another weapon was very necessary. But a weapon like Deebo that's going to make things even easier for Jaden Daniels. This was the right move. Adam Peters, GM for the Washington Commanders, brought in a guy that he's familiar with, a guy he crossed over with with the 49ers. So this was the favorite landing spot for Deebo, and I think this was the best landing spot scheme-wise for Deebo to still be effective, still put up high-level production. He was a little heavier last year, but I feel like just the motivation, new contract year, new situation, playing with Scary Terry, playing with Jaden Daniels, an opportunity to put up big numbers and show you still can ball. I think all that will play into him having his best season since 2021. Deebo Samuel is the only receiver in NFL history to have 20 receiving touchdowns and 20 rushing touchdowns. So sky's the limit for Deebo in Washington, in my opinion. I think for this offense to be even more dangerous and more explosive, I think you bring back Zach Ertz. He was a great security blanket for Jaden Daniels. 600 yards receiving. He had a really good playoff game, the final playoff game against the Eagles. One of the only players that was doing anything for Jaden Daniels offensively. Diami Brown, receiving weapon for Daniels. He really came alive in the playoffs. 229 yards receiving, 1 touchdown, 14 catches. He showed up big in the playoffs, so him as the 3rd or 4th best receiver with Deebo, with Scary Terry, and then you draft that big body receiver in the draft, whoever you choose, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State receiver, or just another guy. The receiver class in the draft is deep. You really have a lot of options, but just getting that big body threat at that position, something that they don't have yet, would be huge for this offense to continue to grow and blossom. You still have Austin Eckler as that Swiss Army knife, that guy that could do multiple things, 300 yards rushing, 300 yards receiving. Brian Robinson Jr., solid running back. They probably need to get a more polished running back, a guy that can do everything to lead the charge. And I think Trayvon Henderson is that guy. He ran a 4.43 in the 40-yard dash, speed. He has it, explosive, great blocker and pass protection. He could do everything. He could play on every down for you, and that's somebody that's going to be an 1,000-yard rusher right out the gates as a rookie, and put up more production than he did in college because, with Judkins, he was sharing the backfield last season, but that's a home run hitter, a guy that could force missed tackles too. He can really do everything you need from a top running back. And with Daniels, Brian Robinson, Eckler, and Henderson, and Deebo Samuel sometimes too, Commanders will be once again one of the best offenses in the NFL. But I really think in terms of competing with the Eagles, they need to shore up things on the defense. You're not going to have a shot to beat the Eagles if you can't get a stop or two. And their defense was pretty decent, had some overachievers on that side of the ball, but Myles Garrett, make a move to get Myles Garrett, Adam Peters. That's a guy you need to compete with the Eagles. Because if the Eagles get him, you're cooked. Literally, the whole entire draft. Just draft a bunch of defenders, draft a bunch of guys on the defensive line, draft some corners. Like, you need to shore up some things on the defense for you to have a shot to dethrone the Eagles. But right now, this offense, Deebo Samuel, this is a good start to the offseason for the Commanders. Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.